Hello students, how are you all? I hope you all are doing well. So today in this chapter we will learn about mindful eating, a path to a healthy body. So students, in this chapter we will learn about our eating habits, right? Firstly we will learn about how important is food, right? The kind of food that we eat is a path to our healthy body, right? जैसे we in Hindi we say जैसा खाएंगे अन्न वैसा रहेगा मन, which means that the kind of food we will eat, that kind of mind we will flourish, right? That kind of mind we will have. So in this chapter we will understand about what do we eat, right? And changing in cooking practices over time. In earlier times, how people used to cook their food and how it evolved, and in current times how we cook our food, right? Then what are the various kind of food that we eat? Earlier what were the kind of food that people used to eat? Then we will also learn about different kind of grains. For example, currently we mostly consume rice or the wheat, right? But we will also learn about millets, which is a source of rich nutrition of various types. Then we will learn about the nutritional deficiencies diseases, right? And lastly we will also learn about how a balanced diet should look like, okay? We will also learn and see the journey of a food from the farm to our plate, right? How the food is produced in the farm, in the soil, under the soil, and how it comes to our plate, okay? So let's get started. Food is a basic need of all living things, right? It is required for growth, energy and repair of worn out parts of the body. We get food from plants and animals. Plants provide us cereals, pulses, vegetables and fruits. Animals are the sources of milk, eggs, meat and honey for us. All food that we eat has various important nutrients to nourish our body. So see, food is the basic necessity, right? It is a basic thing that each and every living thing consumes, right? It might depend upon the living thing, right, what kind of food habit it has. For example, if we talk about the human beings, right, we generally eat plants or let's say pulses, cereals, vegetable, fruits, right? Then if we talk about let's say lion, right, again a living thing, but he consumes what? They consume the flesh of other animal. So based on the living thing, the food can vary. But if we look closely, the food is the basic thing that everyone consumes, right? Be it plant, okay? Plant also need food, right? For example, for plant, the food is water, sunlight, carbon dioxide, right? To produce the energy in their body. So, what do we eat exactly? When we eat food, let's say I am eating a glass of milk, a glass of some juice, okay? I am drinking a glass of juice. I am having something in breakfast. So, what exactly I am eating? So, let's see. Food is a vital part of our lives. We can list the food items we have eaten over the weeks and can observe our eating pattern. Do we eat the same types of food at every meal, or do our choices vary? Comparing our list with those of the friends can reveal similarities and differences. This diversity in food choices is seen across different states in India, influenced by varying cultures, traditions and agricultural practices. Exploring these differences can help us appreciate the rich culinary diversity of our country and encourage us to try new and diverse dishes. See, everyone eats food, right? Everyone consumes food. But within our day, right, if we talk about just one day, we ourselves don't consume the same food in the different meals, right? In the breakfast we eat something else, in the lunch we eat something else, and then in the dinner we eat something else, right? Similarly, if we talk about our eating habits and compare it with our friends or let's say our neighbors who are from maybe different states, right? So you will realize that the choices of food that we are having on a daily basis is quite different, right? That depends on the culture, okay? That depend upon the tradition, right? That depend upon the agricultural practices. So for example, if we talk about South India, right, the kind of food that is consumed there, it is mostly what? The rice, right? and the rice related products, for example idli, dosa and these things. But if we talk about the northern India, right, they mostly consume what? The wheat, the millets. Okay. So this is how the tradition, the agricultural practices, the kind of land they have decides our eating pattern. Okay. Now let us explore the variety in the food choices. So let's analyze weekly food consumption and explore diversity in food choices. So what you have to do is list the food items eaten over week. Compare the list with friends to note similarities and differences. So to explore the diversity in food choices, right, note down your consumption over few weeks. Okay. And then compare that list with your friends and note the similarity, the similar food that you both were eating, or the difference in the food choices, right. So note that. Now what else? For example, you can make such table from Sunday to Saturday and then you can list the food item. Okay. So where you will observe that varied food choices will be observed based on cultural and regional factors. Okay. For example, your friend might be from different culture, from different state, right. So you will realize the kind of food they are eating, right, the kind of choices they are making in the breakfast or in the lunch or in the dinner are different from yours. Okay. So this study will highlight the diversity in food consumption influenced by different culture and traditions. Okay. So food in different regions. Now let's explore the food in the different regions. So traditional food and crops are different in every region of India. Each state's food is closely linked to the crops grown there. This connection is related to soil, climate and culture of the region. For example, in Punjab, makke di roti and sarson da saag are made from the maize and mustard which grow well in that area. So students, this food diversity is basically what? Dependent upon the state, right, and the state and the food that is grown in that state is dependent upon the kind of soil, kind of temperature, culture in that state. For example, if we talk about Punjab, right, maize is grown there, right, mustard is grown there and the soil is fit for these kind of crops there. So and that's the reason makke di roti and sarson da saag is famous in Punjab, right. The staple or you can say the frequently eaten food is this. If we talk about Kerala, right, the rice and coconut are common in traditional dishes because these crops thrive in local climate. If you see in Kerala, there are lots of, and even in south there is lots of coconut trees, right. In Rajasthan, where the land is dry, right, so bajra, pearl millet is used in many traditional foods. Exploring these foods help us understand the strong bond between the land and the people. It also shows the rich variety of food across India. So now till now we have understood that the food item that we consume, okay, is dependent upon that area we are living, right. And because the kind of area, for example, if we talk about a particular state or a particular region in India, if we talk about, has different kind of soil, has different kind of temperature, right, and based on that they also have different kind of soil type, right. So that's the reason there are variety of food that is grown there, okay. And this tells us that there is a strong bond between the land and the people, okay. How come? So the kind of land a particular area has will encourage one particular kind of crops, right, and the kind of choices that we make in eating is dependent upon the land. So right, so this helps us to understand that there is a strong bond between the land and the people who lives there. Also this shows the rich variety of food across the India. Now let's go to the next page. So some traditional food items of different states of our country is listed here. For example, if we talk about Punjab, so locally grown crops are, for example, wheat, maize, mustard. And what are the food items? Like makke di roti, sarson da saag, and they also consume lassi there, right? Why lassi? Because people in Punjab, in Rajasthan, in Haryana, they have cows, they have buffaloes in their homes, right? If we talk about Kerala, right, locally grown crops are like rice, coconut, spices, and that's the reason their traditional food items include appam, puttu, fish curry, right, and coconut water in beverage. If we talk about Rajasthan, they have bajra or gram, right? They grow these things, and therefore they make bajre di roti, dal bati churma, right, and with buttermilk, or we can also say chach. In West Bengal, they have rice, jute, mustard, and they make bhapa, luchi, aloo posto, ilish, rice with tea. For example, in Gujarat, they grow wheat, millet, groundnut, and they make dhokla, thepla, kadhi with chach masala chai, right? So these are the traditional food items based on the places, right? Now, why this variation exists? Have you ever thought about this? What is the reason behind this variation of food items? So you might have noticed that traditional food in each state is often made from the crops grown there, right? India is an agricultural country with many types of soils and climates. Different crops are grown in different regions based on the soil and weather condition. So you must have noticed that the traditional food of each state is dependent upon the crop that is grown there, right? And if we talk about India especially, we have a diversity we have a diverse land, right? The kind of soil and that climate is not same across the India, right? It varies. So different crops are grown in different regions based on the type of soil that is present there, the kind of weather condition is there. In India, if we talk about, the food people eat can change depending on what crops are grown in their area. It also depends on the taste preferences, culture and tradition. For example, people in the rice growing areas may eat more rice based dishes. If it let's say I give you an example of South India, right? Different varieties of rice are grown there, right? The land is fit for growing rice, and you will also see the kind of food they eat, right? The variety of food they have is mostly rice based dishes, right? In wheat growing regions, wheat is a common part of meal. Cultural practices and local tradition also play a big role in shaping what people eat. This creates a rich variety of food across the country. So the kind of cultural practices a state has or the local tradition has, that also shapes what kind of dishes the people wants to eat, right? So what are the advantages of these traditional food items, right? In villages which are still proper villages in India, or I would say that rural India, there are still traditional food items that are eaten, that people love making. So what are the advantages of these traditional food items? Because if we see in the urban India, right, people are not very connected to their traditional food, right? So what are the advantages of traditional food item? Why should we eat these traditional food items, right? So the following are the advantages. Let's understand that. So traditional foods are often made from fresh, locally grown ingredients which can be healthier and more nutritious. So see, when traditional food items are made, they are made, so what are traditional food items, for example? That are traditionally made, that are made in a particular area, right? For example, we were talking about Kerala, we were talking about Gujarat. So let's say dhokla or thepla, it is specific to Gujarat, right? That dish is made in the Gujarat because of certain reason that we discussed earlier. So these are traditional foods, right? And these are made from because the item from the item from which they are made is grown there, right? So we can get fresh local ingredients, right, quickly. So this means that the product that is made here is not made from very much processed food, okay? The things are locally grown in that locality, it is picked from there. So this means the traditional foods are healthier and more nutritious. Okay. Consuming traditional food support local farmers and agricultural practices. So since the traditional food is very much connected to the land, that particular land, so this supports local farmers, right? The farmers that are growing that particular crop in that area, right? That supports those local farmers and agricultural practices. Traditional food item connect us to our cultural heritage and history, right? So our traditional food reminds us of our cultural heritage and the history, right? Because the traditional food has meaning in it, right? Why it is grown, okay? Why dhokla is not cooked in South India, or let's say in West Bengal, right? So traditional food has a very has basis, has a significance, okay? So this reminds us of our cultural heritage, our history. Now, they often provide a balanced diet suited to regional dietary needs and preferences. So, the kind of traditional food, they often provide a balanced diet suited to regional dietary needs and preferences. So, the traditional food also provide a balanced diet, okay, suited for a particular region, right? For example, if I talk about the northern India, right, the lands are plain here, right? We have plain land there. So the kind of agriculture practice or the kind of work people do there is different from the southern India or the eastern India or the western India, right? So, and because of the work and because of the agricultural practices, the dietary need of people doing work there also differs, right? So the traditional food provide that balanced nutrition, right? Okay, which is very important for us. Now, eating traditional foods also helps preserve culinary tradition and practices. So, traditional food also help us to preserve, to remember our tradition, our practices, okay. So, but if we look our history, right, but if we go back in our times, we will realize that our cooking practices, the food that we consume is changing over time, right. So, what are the changes in cooking practices over time? So, food habits and cooking practices or the culinary practices have changed over a lot over the years. By talking to older people, we can learn about these changes. For example, traditional stoves, the chula, have mostly been replaced by modern gas stoves. Manual grinding with the silbatta is now often done with electric grinders. These updates have made cooking faster and convenient. Now, if we look about our culinary practices, the process through which we make our food, right, that has also changed over a period of time. So, when we talk to our elders, right, our grandmothers or the old people, right, they tell us that we earlier used to they earlier used to use chula or the traditional stoves made from the mud and the generally from the mud and the stone, right. Now, if we talk about the modern time, we use gas stoves, right. We have completely replaced the chula. Earlier, we used to have silbatta to crush or to grind something. Now, we use electrical grinders, right. So, this have also made cooking faster and more convenient. Technology, advancements, better transportation and improved communication have all contributed to these changes. They have also made it easier to access a wide range of ingredients. As a result, cooking has become more efficient and varied. New cooking tools and techniques continue to shape our kitchens and make our work easy. So, with technology, with the advancement, right, we see that the cooking, the kitchen, okay, has changed, right. The kind of tools that we have in our kitchen nowadays, the kind of practices that we use or the way through which we cook our food has completely changed with these technological advancement, okay. And now the process of making food has become easier and less time consuming. Now, if we compare our older and modern cooking tools, we will see earlier we used to have chula, the traditional stove. Now, we have the gas stove. Earlier, we used to have silbatta, the stone grinder, right. Now, we have the electrical grinder. Earlier, we used to hand pulled meal, right. Now, we have electrical blender. Traditionally, we used to have clay pots, right. We used to have clay pots. Now, we use non-stick cookware. Earlier, we used wooden spoons, Now we use silicon spatulas. Earlier we used coal or wood fire. Now we use electrical oven, right? So these are the kind of changes that have taken place in our cooking tools. Okay. Now let's go to the next page. So these are also some changes that has taken place. So earlier we used to have mortar and pestles, okay, and now we have food processor. Earlier we used to manually whisk, manually mix. Now we use electrical mixer. Earlier we have cast iron kadai, okay. Now we have induction cooktop. Earlier we used to have traditional wok. Now we have a traditional wok. Now we have pressure cooker, okay. So all the modern cooking tools, if we see, they have reduced the cooking time in some way or the other. They have also made the effort that we used to put in making food easier, right? Now we don't use much energy, right, to make our food. Now what are the benefits of changes in this cooking practices? So these changes have taken place. So what do you think? Are there any benefits, okay, related to this? Yes, on some levels we do see some changes, we do see some benefits, and that's the reason we have adopted them, right? So let's understand that. So the changes in cooking practices offer following benefits, like modern tools speed up cooking processes, saving time and effort. So the modern tools, for example, if we talk about the induction cooktop or the pressure cooker, they reduce the cooking time, okay, they save our time, the effort. Now advanced appliances make food preparation easy and more convenient. When we use the grinder, electrical grinder or electrical mixer, right, the preparation that we used to do to, let's say, cut our vegetables, to chop our vegetables, that has reduced now. Technology allows access to a wide range of ingredients and global recipes. So with the time, with the technology, now we can make any kind of food item irrespective of our culture, of our tradition, at any place of India, right, at any place of the world. So technology has allowed us to access to different kind of ingredients and the global recipes. Modern equipments often enhances the taste and texture of the food, right? So let's say if I talk about the pressure cooker or the way we used to grind things, right, that has changed, and that has also changed the taste and the texture of the food, okay. So when you will just observe that the traditional wok and the pressure cooker, or the manual whisk and the electrical mix, all these on the surface or on the gross way, they do the work that is needed, but they do in a very mechanical way, right. Earlier, if we talk about the older cooking tools, they used to have human touch, right. So now if we talk about the innovation, right, in cooking technology, innovation in cooking techniques can lead to healthier meal options, okay. So now the cooking technique lead to more healthier meal options, okay. New tools and appliances often include safety measures that reduce the risk of accidents, okay. Now we have pressure cookers and different kind of appliances and tools that reduces the risk, right, of accidents, of, let's say, cutting of our fingers or something like this. New methods and appliances are designed to be more energy efficient. So the current methods that we use, that we have adopted, are more energy efficient, right. They don't ask of much of human effort, okay. Technology helps in maintaining consistent results in cooking and baking. So since earlier cooking and baking was controlled by humans, right, they were based on human experiences. Technology helps in maintaining consistent results in cooking and baking. Now if you see, everything has mechanized, right, they have some kind of mechanism. So now the cooking, the baking is all technology based, right. There is consistency in the cooking, in the baking. Okay. So now let's understand what are the components of food, right? The food that we eat and we consume and we cook, what it all has, right? What are we essentially eating? So you have learned about traditional food items and various cooking practices. Now let's understand what our food contains. Food is more than just a word, as it includes several nutrients with different roles in our body. Have you ever missed a meal and felt hungry? Do you feel hungry after playing in the playground? These experiences are related to the food and its components. Nutrients in our food are essential for maintaining health and energy, and understanding those helps us appreciate their importance in our daily lives. So let's learn now about the components of the food, okay? What essentially we are eating when we are eating the food, right? So have you ever felt hungry when you have missed the meal, or have you ever felt hungry after playing or after doing some activity, okay? So this means that there is something in our food that is giving us some kind of energy, right? That is making our body work, okay? Because when we don't have it, when we miss one of the meal, we feel hungry, okay? We feel low on energy, right? So let's understand what our food has, okay? What are those basic things? So these are 5 basic components of food that are necessary for all living organisms, and these components are carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins and minerals, okay? So all the food that we eat, or all the food, okay, everything that has energy, okay, that we can eat, it has 5 basic things: carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins and minerals. And the components of food that are necessary for growth and development of all living organisms are called nutrients, okay? So there are certain components in food that is necessary, that is important for the development of all the living organisms, and these are called the nutrients, okay? So let's talk about these different components of food one by one. So let's begin with the carbohydrates. So carbohydrates such as glucose, starch and cane sugar are the components of food made up of the basic substances like carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So have you heard about glucose, starch or sugar, right? The food that we eat all the food that we eat, beside they taste sweet or not, they all have carbohydrates, right? And these carbohydrates are essentially made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, okay? So carbohydrates are the energy giving components of the food. Food items like potato, maize, wheat, rice, sugar, jaggery are rich source of carbohydrates, okay? So out of these 5 components, okay, carbohydrates is one of the component that gives most of the energy, right? That is the most energy giving component. So food like potato, right? Whenever we have a potato rich diet, we feel, so carbohydrates are energy giving food. So whenever we eat let's say we eat potato rich diet or rice rich diet, we feel full, right? So that's the reason, because it is the energy giving component out of the all 5 components, okay? This gives the most energy. This includes potato, maize, wheat, sugar, rice, okay? Now let's go to the next page. The main carbohydrates found in our food are in the form of starch and sugars. Sugars provide energy immediately, but starch releases energy slowly as compared to sugars. So the carbohydrate is present in the form of starch and sugar in our food, and out of these 2, sugars provide energy immediately, right? So and this is the reason whenever we feel dizzy or low on energy, we take Glucon-D, right? Why Glucon-D? Because Glucon-D has sugar in it, right? And that sugar provide immediate energy to the body. If a person consumes more carbohydrates, then what are required by his body, the excess carbohydrates are deposited in his or her body in the form of fats. So since carbohydrate is the energy giving component, right? if a person consumes more carbohydrates than it is required, then that extra carbohydrate get deposited in the form of fat in the body, right? And that's the reason we often cut on carbohydrates, cut on sugar when we want to lose our fat, when we want to lose the body fat, okay? Now let's do one activity to test the presence of starch in the given foodstuffs. Let's test the different kind of foodstuff and let's see do they have carbohydrate in them, basically through starch, okay, through the presence of starch. So what you have to do is, in a clean and dry test tube, take 2 ml of food solution, okay. Add a few drop of iodine solution and shake the test tube well. So you can take any food solution, okay, and then in a test tube, and then add few drops of iodine solution. Now when you will add iodine solution to this test tube, what you will observe? You will see that adding iodine solution, the food solution turns dark blue in color. And this change in color tells us that the dark blue color indicates that the food solution contains starch, okay. So iodine is basically an indicator for what? For the carbohydrates, okay. Now do you know fructose is a type of sugar that is found in most of the fruits, okay. So sugar has also different types, right, like glucose, fructose, sucrose, right, and out of those fructose is the type of sugar that is found in the fruits, okay. The sugar present in the milk is called lactose, okay. Now bread which is made of wheat contains starch, okay. So these are all what? The sugars. Now let's talk about the second component, which is fats. Fats are also energy giving foods. Fats give more energy as compared to the same amount of carbohydrates, okay. So fats give more energy. For example, let's say this is a piece of some food item, okay. So this amount of carbohydrate, let's say, gives 10 energy, 10 units of energy. But if we talk about fats, this same amount of fats will give 15 units of energy, okay. So basically fats give more energy than the carbohydrates. Now, so fats have less oxygen as compared to the carbohydrates, okay. So if we compare fats from carbohydrates, they give more energy but they have less oxygen, okay. They have less number of oxygen in their structure as compared to the carbohydrates. So when fats are oxidized, our body converts food into energy, okay. So when this is oxidized, the fat is converted and energy is released. A part of this energy is stored as fats. Fats are thus like an energy bank in living organisms. Fats are of two types: saturated fats and unsaturated fats, okay. So basically fats are some kind of energy bank that is present in the living organisms, okay. Now we have two types. Saturated fats are normally solid at room temperature, okay. For example, butter. So butter is a saturated fat, but what are unsaturated fat? These are mostly liquid at room temperature, like vegetable oil or another kind of oil, okay. Butter, cheese, meat and various oils are the main source of fat, and these are the saturated fat is the main source of the fat. Now let's do one activity to test the presence of fat in the given food sample, okay. Let's test the presence of fat now. So take a clean and dry paper and put some small amount of given food on it, okay. So again on a paper, add some food item, okay, add the liquid of some food item. Now rub it lightly and let the paper dry. Hold the dry paper in front of a source of light. What do you observe? Okay, so you will observe that the paper has become smooth, oily and less transparent, and this indicates that food contains fat. Sometimes we when we make some kind of dishes like parathas or fried, something related to fried thing, okay, we put them in napkins or the butter paper, right? After some time you will realize, you will see some oily patches on the paper, on that butter paper, right? So what's that? This indicates, right, this smoothy, oily and less transparent and the paper becoming less transparent. These changes in the paper tells us that the food contains fat. Now let's go to the next page. Now let's talk about the third component, which is protein. So proteins are components of food which are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. Some proteins have sulfur and phosphorus also. So proteins are involved in almost all biological processes in living beings. Proteins helps in building the food, hence they are also called body building foods. So students, proteins are made up of what? The carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen also, right? And some proteins also have sulfur and phosphorus. And these proteins are involved in, basically they build our body, right? Whatever we have in our body, right, it is built using protein, okay? So that's the reason they are called body building food. The muscles, okay, these are made from proteins. Proteins repair damaged tissues and replace dead cells and tissues. Some proteins also help in digestion and other metabolic function. So for example, if we talk about my nails or let's say our hair, these are all made from proteins, right? So protein is very important for repair, right, and growth of our body, okay? And some proteins also help in digestion and other metabolic functions, and such proteins are called enzymes. Proteins are the main constituent of muscles, skin, hair, nails and hemoglobin. So our food is digested with the enzymes, right, that they are also protein, right? So basically they reduce and increases the process, right? They fasten the process of digestion. Milk, meat, fish, egg, pulses and nuts are all examples of the proteins, right? They are the sources of protein. Now let's understand and test the presence of protein in food item. So in a clean and dry test tube, take 2 ml of food solution, add 2 to 3 drops of copper sulfate solution and 10 to 12 drops of caustic soda solution. Shake the contents of the test tube well. What do you observe? So again, take some liquid food item, okay, 2 ml of food item. To it, add copper sulfate solution 2 to 3 drops and then add 10 to 12 drops of caustic soda solution. You will see that the food solution turns violet, okay. This change in color tells us that, indicate that the food stuff contain protein, okay. Now let's do one more activity to test food items for starch, fat and proteins, okay. So let's do this together, right? We tested the presence of protein and starch and fats also, okay. So let's test some food items for all these three things. So what you have to do is test these food items for the presence of fats, starch and proteins as explained in the earlier activities. Observe carefully and write the result of these tests. So test wheat flour for the presence or the absence of starch, fat or the proteins, okay. So you will realize by the end of this activity that a particular food stuff has starch also, has fat also, has protein also. Now let's go to the next page. So you may observe different varieties in these food items, okay. So the food items contains carbohydrate, fat and proteins, but in different proportion, right. By this activity you will not be able to know the proportion of these contents, right, these components, but this activity can tell you the presence, okay. While doing this activity, be careful, okay. While testing the food stuff, do not waste the food stuffs and add chemical using different droppers for each chemical, okay. Now let's understand about the next component, which is vitamin. So vitamins are essential for normal functioning of our body. These are necessary for good health and normal growth. Vitamins are necessary for proper utilization of other nutrients like carbohydrates, fats and proteins. So see, let's say through by eating one food, we have taken carbohydrates, fats and proteins inside our body. What will make sure that these things is properly absorbed in our body? Okay, so that's the role of the vitamin. So vitamin are necessary for proper utilization of these other nutrients like carbohydrates, fats and proteins. Some vitamins can be produced by our body, but most of them have to be supplied through food. Okay, so there are different kind of vitamins. Some are produced in our body, but that some are very essential and must be taken from the outside through our food. So there are different vitamins, for example, each of which performs a specific function in our body. So there are two main types of vitamins, fat soluble and water soluble. So vitamin A, D, E and K are fat soluble, while vitamin B1, B2, B3, B6, B12, folic acid and vitamin C are water soluble vitamins. Okay. So fat soluble means that is soluble in the fat, and so water soluble means which are soluble in water. Now vitamin B, B1, B2, B6, B12 and folic acid are together known as vitamin B complex. Okay. So can you see that the vitamin, the B1, B2, they all have B in them, right? This B is common to them. So these together they are called vitamin B complex. Now fruits, vegetables, milks, eggs, meat, fish, cheese, these are all the main source of vitamins, right? Now let's see and understand the function and the sources of these fat soluble vitamins, right? We talked about their importance, right? And each of them have a particular significance and a function in our body. So let's understand that one by one. So vitamin A. Vitamin A promotes growth and maintain normal eyesight. So if we want to have a good eyesight, right, a proper growth, we should take proper vitamin A. Through what? Through green leafy vegetables, carrots, tomatoes, pumpkin, cod liver oil. Okay. Vitamin D promotes normal growth of bones and teeth. Okay. So we should take milk, fish liver oil, eggs, exposure to sunlight. Now let's go to the next page. If we talk about the vitamin E, it promotes normal reproduction. Okay. So we should take green leafy vegetables, butter, tomatoes, germinated gram, wheat gram germ oil. Okay. Vitamin K, whereas, is necessary for proper clotting of blood after an injury. So cauliflower, cabbage, tomatoes, egg yolk are the sources of vitamin K. Now if we talk about the water soluble vitamins, so for example vitamin B1, right, it is very necessary for growth, essential during lactation period and pregnancy. So it is found in milk, seafood, soya bean, whole cereals, green vegetables, eggs, right. Vitamin B2 improves growth and general health, essential for reproduction, lactation and respiration, and it is found in milk, peas, beans, yeast, meat, eggs, bananas and cherries. Folic acid, right, basically the iron in our body, helps in the formation and maturation of red blood cells, and it is found in green leafy vegetables, sprouted beans. Vitamin B12, it is necessary for the formation of healthy blood, and the source is liver, meat, eggs, milk. For vitamin C is for healthy teeth and gums, improves appetite, prevents scurvy. So citrus food like amla, lemon, orange, gooseberry, guava, these are the sources of vitamin C. Now let's understand about the minerals. Okay. The fifth component of our food, the minerals. So just like vitamins, minerals are required in small quantities by our body. They have no energy value but are required for proper growth as well as carrying out certain body functions. Okay. So vitamins and minerals are essential, right, which means that they are required in our body but in a very small quantity. Okay. So, let us talk about the macro minerals. So, what are the minerals that are required in macro amount? So, some minerals like calcium, magnesium, sodium and potassium are required in larger quantities by our body as compared to the other minerals. Such minerals are called macro minerals, right. These minerals are required in larger quantities like calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium. Okay. Whereas, if we talk about micro minerals, these minerals which are needed by our body in smaller quantities, these are called trace minerals or micro minerals. Some examples are zinc, copper, iron, iodine. Okay. Rich sources of minerals are green leafy vegetables, dairy products like milk and cheese, fish, beans, peanuts, eggs and fruits. So, basically we should consume good amount of green leafy vegetables, right, peanuts, fruits, and that will take care of our major need of our body. Our body cannot synthesize minerals, so these are obtained from food that we eat. Okay. So, we cannot make minerals from inside, right, our body cannot make minerals. So, therefore, that should be taken from outside through the food that we eat. Now, let us go to the next page. So, there are some important minerals and their function with respect to the source. Okay. So, if we talk about calcium, right, they are required for making bones and teeth, and they also help in blood clotting. So, from where we can get calcium? By eating milk, by drinking milk, milk products, beans, whole grain and cereals, ragi, meat, fish, green leafy vegetables. Phosphorus helps in the formation of bones and teeth and can be taken from milk, bajra, ragi, nuts, green vegetables, fish and meat. Iron necessary for the formation of hemoglobin, which carries oxygen from lungs to the body cells. Liver, kidney, eggs, groundnut, jaggery, spinach, millet like jowar, bajra, ragi, green leafy vegetables are the rich sources of iron. Iodine is necessary for formulation of a protein called thyroxine, which controls the physical, mental and sexual development of our body. So, fish, seafood, iodized salt are the sources of iodine. Sodium and potassium helps in maintaining body fluids. Common salt, vegetables, milk are the sources of sodium and potassium. Fluorine required for proper functioning of the nervous system, prevents tooth decay. So, we can have fluoridated water. Okay. So, now let us do an activity to know the food item of different groups. So, let us list 5 food items that you often eat in your meal. Classify them into 3 categories: energy giving food, body building food and protective food. So, energy giving food includes what? Basically, the food that is rich in fats or carbohydrates. Body building foods are basically the proteins, right, the food that are rich in protein, and protective food include the food that has minerals. Okay. So, categorize that your food in these 3 categories. So, from the table you can observe that the food items we consume contain different nutrients, right. So, this tells us that the food we eat every day contains energy giving, body building and proteinaceous food items. Okay. Now, let us go to the next page. Cut karna. Now, let us go to the next page. Now, let us talk about water. Okay. So, the food that we eat also consists of water, right. Beside those 5 components that we talked about, we also have water and roughage in our food. So, like other nutrients, water is also an essential component of our body. About 70% of our body weight is due to water. In fact, every cell of our body contains water. It has the following important functions. So, the food that we eat has a good amount of water in it also. So if we talk about our body is made up of 70% of water. Okay, our body weight includes 70% of the water. Okay, so it is very important for our body, for each and every cell. Water is very important. So let's see what are the different functions. So water forms body fluid like saliva, digestive juices and blood. Okay, so the saliva, the digestive juices or the blood, right, they are all liquid, right, but they are made in our body in something, right, they have some basis, right, they have some basic thing in that is the water. It helps in digestion of food and transfer of nutrients from one part to another part in our body. So since water is liquid, right, it can flow. Okay, so the digested food, first of all, it helps in digestion, and once the food is digested, the nutrients are then transferred to different body parts through water. Okay, it helps in removing waste materials from the body. So after the digestion, there is some kind of waste that is produced. After the absorption, there is some kind of liquid that is there in our body, that is produced in our body. So through liquid, through water, okay, the water helps to remove the waste from the body, let's say in the form of urine, in the form of sweat. Okay, it is essential for several cellular functions and removing waste. Okay, so it also helps in performing different cellular functions, okay, and removing waste from the body. It helps in regulating the body temperature. So whenever we sweat, okay, basically the body is maintaining and regulating the temperature of our body. So sweating, basically the water, sweating is what? Sweat is what? The water. So water helps in regulating the body temperature. To meet the body requirement of water, we must drink 10 to 8 glasses of water every day and eat foods containing water like fruits and vegetables. We can also get water by having beverages like tea, coffee, fruit juice, etc. Okay, so for a normal human body, we require 8 to 10 glasses of water every day for a proper functioning of our body. Beside this, we can also take fruits, vegetables and beverages like tea, coffee or some fruit juice through which water can also get in our body. Now the roughage, okay, so roughage is also a very important part of our food. So we get roughage or fibers. So what is roughage? It is basically fiber that we get from plants. Roughage do not provide any nutrient to our body, yet it is an important part of our food. The roughage adds bulk to our food. Okay, so it adds the fiber, the bulkness to our food. Our digestive system uses fiber to pass our solid waste from the body. Many fruits and vegetables are good sources of roughage. Okay, so when our food is digested, it is passed. Okay, so the undigested food is passed from our body. So fiber, the roughage helps in that. Okay, it helps in our digestion. Now check your progress through this table. So write true or false in the given boxes. Okay, now let's talk about the balanced diet. We talked about different components of food. We also talk about water and roughage, right, and the sources of food, like for example minerals, what are the different sources. Okay, so what is a balanced diet, right? A balanced diet is something which contains all the components of food required by our body in adequate quantity. That's called a balanced diet, right? We all want to have our body with proper amount of all the vitamins, all the macro and micro nutrients, right? Carbohydrates, proteins, fats, right? After understanding their importance, we would like to have them all in proper quantities, right? So a diet that has all these components but in adequate quantity, that's called a balanced diet. Okay, so basic food groups. Okay, According to scientists, a balanced diet must include food items from the following 4 basic food groups. So we have 4 food groups, okay, and to have a balanced diet, scientists suggest that we must include one of the things from all these 4 food groups, okay. Let's talk about milk group. So this include milk and milk products which provide proteins, fats, minerals and water to our body, okay. So we can have, for example, milk products like what? The curd or the milk directly or the paneer, right? These things that will take care of our protein, fats, minerals, water need. Next group is protein group. So this group include meat, chicken, fish, goat, etc. and beans, peas, nuts and seed pulses to provide proteins, fats, some vitamins and minerals to our body. So if you can have meat, but if you don't eat meat, you can also have beans, peanuts, nuts, seed pulses. So this will take care of your protein group, okay. This will take care of the protein, fats need of your body. Cereals group. This group includes breads and cereals which provide us carbohydrates, a little protein and some vitamins, okay. So we should have different kind of cereals in our food. Fruits and vegetable group. So this group includes fruits and vegetables which provide us vitamins, minerals, roughage, carbohydrates and fats in small quantities and lot of water. So fruits and vegetable group provide us with lot of water, roughage, right, and vitamins and minerals majorly, and carbohydrates and fats in small quantities, okay. So taking food items from all of these groups makes balanced diet for us, okay. So there is balanced diet for special category also. So a balanced diet is different for every individual. It depends on the age, sex and type of work that one does. So so your age, if you are female or male, and the type of work that you do, okay, that all impacts the diet that we eat, okay. So if I talk about the child, a child needs more proteins in early childhood as she grows rapidly in that stage, right. So a child needs more protein in his diet, okay. So that would be a balanced diet for him. A hard working laborer need more energy as compared to a person doing a desk job. Thus, a laborer needs more carbohydrate in his diet than the person who does sitting job, okay. So it all depends upon the kind of work and the kind of energy requirement of our body. Nursing mothers and pregnant women need more proteins to meet the requirements of the growing baby, okay. So since the baby is growing at that time, right, there's lot of proteins required in the body. Therefore, the nursing mother or the pregnant woman needs more protein in their diet, okay. So this all depend upon the age, right, in which age you are, either you are male or female, or the type of work you do, okay. Now let's go to the next page. Now let's understand the importance of balanced diet. So if we will not have a balanced diet, what will happen, okay. So a balanced diet is crucial for overall health and well-being in the following ways. So as we studied earlier, while we take a balanced diet, it covers all our needs, right. So it provides essential nutrients needed for the body to function properly, right. A balanced diet gives all the nutrients, okay, all the nutrients to the body that is required to function properly. It supports healthy growth and development. So as per the needs of the body, right, as per the growing needs, right, the balanced diet support healthy growth and development. It helps prevent nutritional deficiencies and related health issues. So if a body let's say is deficient in some kind of nutrition, they might get particular kind of disease, right. So a balanced diet take care of these things. It can reduce the risk of chronic diseases also, okay. So taking proper balanced diet reduces the risk of chronic diseases. Eating a variety of foods from different food groups ensure a balanced intake of nutrients. Okay. So, when we take different food items from different food groups, that ensures a balanced diet. Okay. Now, how should we plan a balanced diet? A balanced diet can be planned by considering the following points. So, let's say we are talking about our particular cells. Okay. We talked about that it is dependent upon the age, the work that we do, and our gender. Okay. So, how should we plan our balanced diet now? So, incorporate foods from different food groups in each meal. So, first of all, we should take care that the food items that we are having is from all the groups, okay, that we talked about. Now, ensure each meal include carbohydrates, proteins, fats, minerals, vitamins, minerals and water. Okay. So, you should take care that the food that you are eating should have all the things, okay, all the components of the food. Eat a variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins and healthy fats. So, eat the variety, right, not the same thing, but the variety in the fruits, in vegetables, in grains, right, in everything. Manage portion sizes to avoid overeating. So, we should eat variety of things, right, and in less proportion, okay, rather than eating one kind of food in more quantity. Okay. Consume food in moderate amounts to support overall health. We should not eat in big proportions, right. We should moderate our amount. Regularly review and adjust your diet to meet nutrition needs and health goals. Okay. So, keep on adjusting and checking on your diet, right, the balanced diet that you are taking in to meet your nutrition need, because the work might keep on changing, right. So, that is also need to be taken care. Do you know Kolathur Gopalan was a key person in nutrition research in India. He analyzed over 500 Indian foods to assess their nutrition value and suggested suitable diets. His research highlighted common deficiencies in protein and energy. This led to the launch of midday meal program in 2002, now called PM Poshan. This initiative provides balanced meals in government and aided schools, significantly enhancing the health and nutrition of many children across the country. So, Gopalan sir was one of the main person who researched a lot about nutrition, right, in India, right, and he analyzed over like 500 Indian foods, right. He accessed their nutrition values and suggested suitable diets what a person should take, and he realized that the food is deficient in the proteins, in some kind of energy, right, and that's the reason during that time midday meal was launched in the schools, right now it is called PM Poshan, right. So, this initiative was taken to provide a balanced meal to the children, to the kids who are studying in government and aided schools. Okay. Now, let us understand about the nutrition deficiency. So, if we will not take proper nutrition, what will happen? Okay. A person who is getting enough food to eat may not be healthy. It may happen in the case of a person whose diet lacks a proper nutrient. So, if this continues over a long period of time, the person may not remain fit and healthy. She may suffer from many diseases or another. These kind of diseases which occur due to lack of particular nutrient in the diet over a long period are called nutritional deficiency diseases. Okay. So, and these diseases are non-communicable. So, the kind of food that we eating, right, if it has all the kind of nutrients and components of food that we all discussed, right, that is required for a particular body, then it is okay. But if a person who is not getting enough nutrients from the food that he is eating, then in that case the body might undergo some kind of deficiency, right, the nutritional deficiency, and that may lead to some diseases from that deficiency. Okay, these kind of diseases are called nutritional deficiency diseases. Okay, diseases that are caused from because of some deficiency in the nutrition. These diseases are non-communicable. Obviously, they cannot be communicated from one person to person because the cause is inherited. The cause is inherent, right? How come inherent? Because that depends upon a particular body. Okay, so let us discuss some of these diseases that occur due to deficiency of proteins, carbohydrates, fats, minerals, vitamins and water. So deficiency of carbohydrates. What are the diseases that happens due to the deficiency of carbohydrates? So most of the energy that our body needs to perform various activities, functions come from carbohydrate. If our diet provide us less energy than required by our body, it means our diet is deficient in carbohydrates. Deficiency of carbohydrate in food leads to lethargy, loss of stamina and feeling of tiredness. So see, when the energy need of our body is not fulfilled, right? Basically this means that the carbohydrate that our body needs is not fulfilled. In that case we feel less on energy, right? And this leads to lethargy, right? This lead to loss of stamina. Okay, this lead to tiredness in the body. Okay, now in case of deficiency of protein, children are always advised to have a protein rich diet as they require more proteins for their growth. As we studied earlier, that protein is the building block of the body, right? So in children, in growing kids, protein is very much required. If they have a diet which lacks in protein over a long period, they may suffer from diseases such as kwashiorkor, marasmus. Okay, so basically these kind of diseases is caused by the deficiency of protein, right? So since we talked about that protein are building blocks of our body, right? These kind of diseases when happens to somebody, you will see that there are some physical aspect of the body that are compromised. Now let's see. So in kwashiorkor, what happens? The disease caused by the deficiency of protein is known as kwashiorkor. Now the following symptoms are visible in a child. The symptoms, this is what I was talking about. We have visible symptoms. Okay, in a child who is suffering from this disease, retarded growth. We will see retarded growth. The growth is not full. Lower body weight, right? The kid will be underweight. Hairs turning reddish. Okay, hairs will turn reddish. Swallow abdomen and weak legs. Again, weak legs. What it denotes? Less in the protein, right? Skin cracking and become scaly. So we talked about that. There's a good amount of protein, right? Our skin is made from protein, right? So the deficiency will cause skin cracking and become scaly. Loss of appetite. The kid will not feel like having food, will not feel hunger, and also mental retardation, right? Now let's go to the next page. So what are the prevention from this kind of diseases? So this is how children suffering from kwashiorkor looks like. Okay, just by looking at them you can clearly see that there is some kind of problem in their body, right? This is not the normal usual body a kid have. So how can we prevent it? Protein rich food may cure kwashiorkor. Okay, so they should be given good amount of protein through their diet. Next is the marasmus. So the disease that occurs due to deficiency of protein along with that of carbohydrates in the diet is called marasmus. So see, in marasmus there is already a deficiency of carbohydrates along with the deficiency in proteins. So there are two kind of deficiency in this disease. The disease marasmus is the more common among infants and children under 5 years of age. A marasmic child shows the following symptoms. So see, carbohydrate is not there, right, which provides energy, and then protein is not there in the body, okay, that gives growth. Okay, so loss of appetite. The child doesn't feel like having food or doesn't feel hungry. Lack of energy, poor muscle development. Okay, as you can already see, you can see in this picture, the child suffering from marasmus looks very weak, right? The muscles of the body is not properly developed. Okay, so this is how these diseases take over when the deficiency is there. We'll also see low pulse and breathing rate. Okay, the person will have low pulse, right? They will not be able to breathe properly. Ribs looking very prominent, right? So ribs will look very prominent. Okay, weak legs will not be well developed. Slow body growth, since the protein deficiency is there, so body will grow slowly. Poor resistance of diseases, right? So in this case, the body will not be able to fight the external virus or bacteria. Okay, so how can we prevent it? The diet which is rich in carbohydrates and proteins may correct marasmus if timely treatment is given. Okay, so basically any kind of deficiency, how can it be prevented? By giving that kind of diet. Okay, so in this case, carbohydrates and protein rich diet may cure marasmus, but if given timely treatment. So deficiency of fats. Fats provide energy to the body, right? After the carbohydrates, fat is another energy giving component. These help in the synthesis of vitamin D and K in our body. Fats also help in keeping the skin and hair soft. So our body needs a small amount of fats, but deficiency of fats causes body weakness and loss of stamina. Okay, so it is very important in our body. Synthesis of vitamin D and K is happens in the presence of fats, right? It also keeps our skin and body hair soft, right? So good small amount of fat is needed, but deficiency can cause weakness and loss of stamina. Then there could be deficiency of vitamins also. So deficiency of different vitamins in the diet may also result in different diseases or disorders. Some of the vitamin deficiency diseases and their symptoms are mentioned in the table here. So these are the different kind of vitamins and the function they perform, and if there is a deficiency of these vitamins in the body, they can lead to these kind of symptoms, the diseases, right? And these will be the symptoms for that diseases. So vitamin A. Vitamin A keeps eyes, hair and skin healthy, right? But its deficiency can lead to loss of vision, causes night blindness. Okay, so the symptoms will be poor vision, dryness in the eyes, loss of vision in darkness, sometimes complete loss of vision. Okay, so it is mostly related to the eyes, right? Now vitamin B1 helps in digestion, maintains nervous system. Okay, but its deficiency can cause beriberi. So what is beriberi? The symptoms are weak muscles, very little energy to work, digestive problems, redness or swelling of the nerves. Okay. Now vitamin B1, B2. Vitamin B2 helps in proper growth, helps in keeping skin healthy, but its deficiency can lead to skin diseases, retarded growth. Okay, so the person will see unhealthy skin and slow growth. In case of vitamin B12, it helps in the formation of red blood cells. Okay, but its deficiency can cause anemia, right? And anemia has symptoms like pale skin, yellowish skin, lack of stamina, loss of appetite and frequent headache. Okay. Now vitamin C, this keeps teeth, gums and joints healthy, helps to resist infection, but its deficiency can lead to scurvy. Scurvy shows symptoms like loosening of teeth, bleeding gums, wounds take longer time to heal, pain in limbs. Okay. Now let's go to the next page. Now vitamin D. Vitamin D provides strength to the bone, but if it is deficient in the body, it causes rickets. So in this case, bones become soft, bent and twisted. Okay. Now vitamin K. So vitamin K helps in blood clotting and in proper functioning of the liver. But if it is deficient in the body, it causes excessive bleeding, right? It will not help the body to clot, right? So it will cause hemorrhage from an injury. There would be excessive loss of blood. Now what can be the symptoms? Slow clotting of blood. Okay. Do you know, students, food labels on packaged items must show nutrients information including the amounts of each nutrient. Often nutrients are added during processing to enhance the food's quality, known as fortification. Example of fortified foods include iodized salt and certain baby foods. The Food Safety and Standard Authority of India, FSSAI, regulates food quality in India. So all the packaged items that are there in the market, if you look closely, you will see that they all have nutrient information, right? They all put a tag, a proper nutrient table, which shows that the amount of nutrient each that product have, right? For example, what amount of carbohydrate, what amount of sugars, what amount of fats, minerals, water, for example, all these things, right? And in India, it is FSSAI, which is Food Safety and Standard Authority of India, which regulates food quality in India. Okay. Now let's understand the deficiency of minerals. Till now we understood about the deficiency and its causes in case of vitamins, in case of different components of foods like carbohydrates, fats and proteins, and right. What happens in case of minerals? Minerals do not provide energy, right, but are needed for proper growth, repair of tissues and for regulation of many body function. Okay. So if we talk about calcium, right, so calcium strengthens bones and teeth, helps in clotting of blood, right, but its deficiency in the body leads to rickets in children, right, weakening of bones in adults. So the symptoms include weak bones, tooth decay, excessive bleeding from the wounds. Now phosphorus. Phosphorus helps in developing strong bones and teeth, and this leads to the deficiency of phosphorus leads to ricket in children, weak bones in adults. So now you will realize that for rickets, right, the causes of rickets include the deficiency of calcium and phosphorus and also vitamin D, right. Now this includes, the symptoms include weakening of bones, loss of weight, retarded growth. Iron helps in the formation of hemoglobin, a substance that helps red blood cells in carrying oxygen to the body cells. Now the deficiency of iron causes anemia. Okay. And when the person is suffering from anemia, the symptoms are pale look, fatigue. Okay. The person will look yellowish, right, and also tired. Iodine helps in the secretion of thyroid hormone. Okay, so the deficiency of iodine causes goiter. Now in goiter you will see abnormal growth of thyroid gland. Okay. Zinc strengthens the immune system, helps in healing wounds. So the deficiency of zinc causes retarded growth, and in this case skin lesions, hair loss, white spots on fingernails are some symptoms. Sodium helps in proper functioning of the nervous system, but its deficiency leads to hypokalemia, which means in this case dehydration and weakness are some of the symptoms. Potassium helps in proper growth, helps in keeping cells and body healthy, but its deficiency leads to hypokalemia, right, and this shows weakness, retarded growth in the body. Magnesium helps in regulating functioning of muscles and nerves, right, and the deficiency of magnesium leads to high blood pressure. Okay. So high blood pressure shows symptoms like irregular heartbeat, fat accumulation in blood vessels. Now let's go to the next page. So deficiency of water and roughage also happens in body, right, which leads to some kind of problems in our body. So deficiency of water in the diet may lead to feeling of tiredness and frequent headache. it may also cause kidney problems. So, excessive loss of water from the body causes a condition called dehydration. So, we talked about water and roughage, right? But they were not the nutrient giving components, right? But still their deficiency can cause a significant amount of changes in our body. So, excessive loss of water from the body causes dehydration, and this causes loss of essential salts from the body, which leads to weakness, right? When the body is less on water, it is dehydrated. It is not just water deficient, it also lacks essential salts like potassium, like sodium, right? These are very essential for the body. So, this leads to weakness. Now, to recover from the dehydration, an oral dehydration solution, which is called ORS, should be given to the person suffering from dehydration. ORS packers are easily available free of cost at primary health centers, right? So, to recover from dehydration, people can be given ORS, right? It is taken with water, right? It is a solution. It covers the demand of the water as well as the essential salts of the body. Do you know, students, the Agriyas, a tribal community in Gujarat, practice traditional salt farming in little run of Kutch. For 8 months, they endure the harsh desert heat to extract soil from the seawater. So, there is one tribal community in Gujarat who practices, who removes salt from the ocean water of the run of Kutch, right? For 8 months, they take the heat of desert, of the hard desert heat to extract soil from the seawater. Now, let us talk about the roughage. So, although roughage do not provide any nutrient as such, it helps to easy removal of mold, right? So, how can we prevent these nutrition deficiency that we talked about? Nutritional deficiency disease can be prevented by strictly following a balanced diet, which is according to their body needs, right? So, some of the ways to ensure taking balanced diet are listed here. Make sure your diet include different types of food that provide all the essential nutrients, right? We talked about different parts, right? There are protein containing food, then we have carbohydrate foods, then water the food that contain good amount of water, right? So, we should make sure that our diet contain all the different kind of foods. Eat a variety of fruits, vegetable, grains, proteins and dairy to meet your nutritional needs, right? So, we should eat food in a diverse manner, right? We should eat diverse variety, the diversity, rather than having a particular amount of food in much proportion. Add important vitamins and minerals to your food to make more nutrition, right? So, to make it more nutritious, add more vitamins and minerals through different kind of food items. Educate people about how a balanced diet is important for preventing nutritional deficiency, right? So, we tend to eat a particular kind of food in our daily day, in our day to day life, right? But we should educate people, right? Our families, our neighbors, how can we have a balanced diet to prevent ourselves from any kind of future diseases. Regularly check your diet to ensure it has all the nutrients you need, okay? So, since there is no particular fixed balanced diet, right, it keeps on changing depending upon your age, depending upon the kind of work that you are involved in, right? So, keep regularly checking your diet. Adjust your diet based on health needs or life stages to avoid deficiency, okay? So, let us say you are in a particular age time of your life, okay? So, in that age you might need more protein, right? Mothers need more protein, okay? So, that is something that needs to be taken care of. Now, one more thing, keep track of what nutrition you are taking, okay? So, keep track of what nutrition you are getting to ensure you are getting enough of the essential vitamins and minerals, okay? Now, obesity. So, have you ever seen children especially who live in urban areas and are abnormally overweight, right, like these, right? So these days it has been seen that children, especially in urban areas, are abnormally overweight and at a very young age, and this condition is called obesity, right? So what's the reason behind this obesity? So obesity is mainly due to the reason that children eat food or junk food like pizzas, burgers, ice cream, soft drinks, and such foods do not lack minerals and water, minerals, vitamins and proteins, but contain a large amount of fats and sugars. Okay, so these junk food, right, they are, firstly they are lack on the essential nutrients like minerals, vitamins, proteins, but I am not saying that they are completely lack of these things. They do have, but mostly they contain large amount of fats and sugars, and due to lack of physical activity, the fat gets accumulated in the body, which leads to obesity. So they are basically consuming more fats and carbohydrates that is required for their body, right, and this leads to the accumulation of fats and carbohydrates in the body, and this is why they look obese, right. Now how can this be prevented? So simple, obesity can be prevented by having a balanced diet and doing regular physical exercise. We should consume the that only that amount of food, basically the proteins, the carbohydrates and the fats that is required for our body, right, because obesity may lead to malfunctioning of the body and may cause many heart related problems, right. So just think that there is something in your body that is not required and is just stored in there, right. So that will over a period of time will lead to some kind of problem, some kind of diseases, okay. So we should take care of the obesity. Now you can check your progress by filling in the blanks, okay. Now let's go to the next page. So let's get to the main points of this chapter. People across India eat diverse types of food containing various food components. Choice of food may vary according to the cultivation of food crops in region, taste preferences, culture and tradition, and so on. Cooking practices have changed over time. There is a significant difference between traditional and modern methods of cooking food. The food that we eat is not constituted of single components, but it consists of different parts of or components such as carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, minerals and water. Carbohydrates are the energy giving components of food. Sugar, when consumed, provides energy immediately, but starch releases energy slowly as compared to sugar. Glucose is an instant source of energy. Fats gives more energy as compared to the same amount of carbohydrates. Saturated fats are normally solid at room temperature, whereas unsaturated fats like oils are mostly liquid at room temperature. Proteins are body building nutrients, foods which are involved in all biological processes. So, and vitamins and minerals are required for proper growth as well as carrying out certain body functions. Each cell of a body contains water. A diet which contains all the components of food required by the body in adequate quantity is called a balanced diet. Eating too much junk food leads to a condition called obesity, a disease which occurs due to lack of particular nutrient in the diet over a long period is called a deficiency disease. All deficiency disease can be prevented by having a balanced diet. The distance travelled by a food item from the place of its production to the consumer is called a food miles. We must aim to minimize food miles. We should never waste food and only take as much as we can consume. So these are some few words that we read in this chapter, like immunity, right? Immunity means the body's ability to avoid or not to be affected by the infection of disease. Fat soluble vitamins. So vitamins that are soluble in fats. Water soluble vitamins that are soluble in water. Blood clotting. So formation of a lump when blood dries or become thicker, right? So whenever we the blood is flowing from some cut or injury, you will see that after some time or after some few minutes, there is some lump, there is some thickness in that area. That's the clotting. Deficiency is called shortage. Lethargy means tiredness, and appetite means physical desire for food, okay, the hunger. I hope this chapter is now clear to you. So based on the learning from this chapter, you have to revise and do the exercise in your homework.